Pakistan,
stop saying things like Muslim countries.
Women are still being stoned.
And that's
to
a
death.
problem for Pakistan. It's a Christian country. Nowhere else in the Muslim majority states. I like Bill Maher. I've been on his show a bunch of times. He's a comedian, but you know, frankly, when it comes to the topic of religion, he's not very sophisticated in the way that he thinks. I mean, the argument about the female genital mutilation being an Islamic problem is a perfect example of that. It's not an Islamic problem, it's an African problem.
Now this is where the discussion becomes sensitive. He's making a distinction between culture and religion, and whether people agree or not. That difference matters when you're trying to understand the full picture.
Wait. Because he says it's a, hold on a second, because he says it's a Muslim country problem. He says that in Somalia.
Yeah, but that's actually empirically, factually incorrect. It's a Central African problem. Eritrea has almost 90% female genital mutilation. It's a Christian country. Ethiopia has 75% female genital mutilation. It's a Christian country.
He's using examples here to challenge the assumption that one issue automatically belongs to one religion. This is why context matters, because without it, it's easy to misinterpret what's actually happening.
Nowhere else in the Muslim majority states is female genital mutilation an issue. But again, this is the problem, is that you make these facile arguments like that women are somehow mistreated in the Muslim world. Well, that's certainly true in many Muslim majority countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia. Do you know that Muslims have elected 7 women as their heads of states in those Muslim majority countries? How many women do we have as head of states in the United States?
Reza, be honest, though, for the most part, it is not a free and open society for women in those states.
Well, it's not in Iran, it's not in Saudi Arabia, it certainly is in Indonesia and Malaysia, it certainly is in Bangladesh, it certainly is in Turkey. I mean, again, this is the problem, is that you're talking about a religion of 1.5 billion people.
This might be the most important point in the entire discussion, where he said you're talking about over 1 billion people. Across different countries, cultures, and systems, reducing all of that to one image is where misunderstandings begin.
And certainly it becomes very easy to just simply paint them all with a single brush by saying, well, in Saudi Arabia they can't drive, and so therefore that's somehow representative of Islam. It's representative of Saudi Arabia.
But
in Iran, they don't have...
I mean, I think that Bill Maher's point is that these aren't extremists. We often talk about extremists, and that we should crack down on extremists, and why aren't Muslims speaking out about extremists? In Saudi Arabia, when women can't vote, and they can't drive, and they need permission from their husband, that's not extremists. Why aren't we talking more about what... That's not extremist, that's commonplace. Why don't we talk more about the commonplace wrongs that are happening in some of these countries?
It's extremist when compared to the rights and responsibilities of women, Muslim women around the world. It's an extremist way of dealing with it.
But it's not extremist in that, country, in Saudi Arabia. That's the norm.
Oh, no, it's not. I mean, look, Saudi Arabia is one of the most, if not the most extremist Muslim country in the world. In the month that we've been talking about ISIS and their terrible actions in Iraq and Syria, Saudi Arabia, our closest ally, has beheaded 19 people. Nobody seems to care about that because Saudi Arabia sort of preserves our national interests. You know, this is the problem, is that these kinds of conversations that we're having aren't really being had in any kind of legitimate way. We're not talking about women in the Muslim world. We're using 2 or 3 examples to justify a generalization. That's actually the definition of bigotry.
All right, fair enough. Let's listen to Benjamin Netanyahu at the United Nations today.
So when it comes to their ultimate goals, Hamas is ISIS, and ISIS is Hamas. And what they share in common, all militant Islamists share in common.
So Reza, the question at the bottom of the screen that everyone is looking at. Does Islam promote violence?
Islam doesn't promote violence or peace. Islam is just a religion, and like every religion in the world, it depends on what you bring to it.
He's not talking about religion as the problem. He's talking about people, and that's a very important distinction.
Violent person, your Islam, your Judaism, your Christianity, your Hinduism is going to be violent. There are marauding Buddhist monks in Myanmar slaughtering women and children. Does Buddhism promote violence? Of course not. People are violent or peaceful, and that depends on their politics, their social world, the way that they see their communities, the way they see themselves.
So, Reza, you don't think that there's anything more, there's the justice system in Muslim countries, you don't think is somehow more primitive or subjugates women more than in other countries?
Did you hear what you just said? You said in Muslim countries. I just told you that Indonesia, women are absolutely 100% equal to men. In Turkey, they have had more female representatives, more female heads of state in Turkey than we have in the United States.
Yes, but in Pakistan,
stop saying things like Muslim countries.
Women are still being stoned.
And that's
to
a
death.
problem for Pakistan. You're
so in
right.
other words,
so
you,
let's criticize Pakistan.
I just want to be clear on what your point is, because I thought you and Bill Maher were saying the same thing. Your point is that Muslim countries are not to blame. There is nothing particular, there's no common thread in Muslim countries. You can't paint with a broad brush that somehow their justice system or Sharia law or what they're doing in terms of stoning and female mutilation is different than in other countries like Western countries.
Stoning and mutilation and those barbaric practices should be condemned and criticized by everyone. The actions of individuals and societies and countries like Iran, like Pakistan, like Saudi Arabia must be condemned because they don't belong in the 21st century. But to say Muslim countries as though Pakistan and Turkey are the same, as though Indonesia and Saudi Arabia are the same, as though somehow what is happening in the most extreme forms of these repressive countries.
This is such a crucial point. Yes, the practices he mentions are absolutely wrong and should be condemned, but what's often missed is the danger of generalizing an entire religion or group of countries based on a few extreme cases. Pakistan, Turkey, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, they are all very different societies with different laws, cultures, and norms, and understanding that distinction is what makes you informed, not just reactive.
These autocratic countries is representative of what's happening in every other Muslim country is frankly, and I use this word seriously, stupid. So let's stop doing it.
This is why conversations like this matter, because it's easy to take a few examples and turn them into a general belief. But once you look deeper, you start to see that reality is far more complex than it first appears, and understanding that difference changes everything.